I really want to ask you this.
Yeah.
There are people who believe that there are things that are not right with the system.
Yeah.
And some things need to be sorted out. And do you think we're close to achieving that? Or, you know, we just go back to same old, same old?
No, to start with, the guys who run our sport generally, not just football, never fill me with any sort of confidence as to whether they know what they're doing. So when people make certain moves, you begin to question what their motive actually is. Football is probably the only sport that has some semblance of, should I say, order.
Yeah.
Or some traction going, you know, per time. And even that football, we always contrive to find a way to almost mess it up. You know, when the World Cup wasn't a great showing, but we were sitting here, and I'm sure most football pundits, presenters, were sitting in studios all over Nigeria talking about how differently we prepared for this World Cup, how almost seamless the preparation was. We played friendlies, there were no bickerings around match bonuses or whatnot. It seemed like we finally, you know, from the administrative side of things, we're getting things right. And then we got to the World Cup. We played in a difficult group, it must be said. Croatia went as far as the finals. Argentina were always going to be difficult. Of course, we beat Iceland, and then we crashed out. And all of this just started. And those who were at the World Cup will say to you that it was a show of shame behind the scene, you know, and all of the things that played out afterwards had started brewing since the World Cup, right there in Russia. And you begin to ask yourself, what do people prioritize? Is it the interest of the nation, of football, or their personal egos?
It's obvious.
You know, and we can tell what the answer to that question is, that people will prioritize their personal parochial interest above anything else. And that's why we've been embarrassed again, because this is thoroughly embarrassing as far as I'm concerned, that the news emanating from Nigeria in the aftermath of the World Cup had to do with, I mean, I saw the FIFA president sit at that press conference and was questioned by Remy Kisu about what would happen, you know, and he was very emphatic. It was unequivocal. It was unambiguous. The rules are clear. Nigeria knows what FIFA's position is. You already know what FIFA's position on matters like this will be 10 years from now if FIFA statutes are not tweaked or rewritten. So why are you flirting? Why are you, you know, romancing the potential of a ban? Why do you want to put yourself, you know, in such light in the international community, in the national media? Why do you want to mention in negative light? You know, after we went to the World Cup, all of the positive things that happened around our jersey. Most of the positive things that happened at the World Cup, where the international community warmed up to us based on how beautiful, you know, the jersey looked. And then you ruin all of that immediately in the aftermath with all this shenanigans that was totally unnecessary. Why the World Cup was still going on? Exactly. So now ask yourself, the people who instigated and initiated this thing, what have they achieved now? Other than embarrass us thoroughly in the eyes of the international public or international media. What have they achieved? Absolutely nothing. We knew this was going to be the outcome.
You think they're going to come back again? Because, you know, I was talking about the piece I read from Amisi Maka when he mentioned the fact that, you know, when it was, you know, head of a particular community that was supposed to come up with how they can implement CAS here in Nigeria, just institute the situation. Instead of you going to court, you have the Nigerian CAS, the version of what we have in Switzerland. But that hasn't been done. So if we don't have that, don't you think the same people might also want to look for the loopholes that we have in the Nigerian law to also want to fight?
But are those people who have grievances prohibited from going to the CAS? Are there...
When it was thrown away, and so they had to use the Nigerian law.
So if it was thrown away, it means that even if we have a local version of CAS, if they apply the same rules, they apply the same principles, they will still throw it away.
It simply means they won't have another court to go to. That's what it means. But it's just the CAS they will go to, and if it's thrown away, they won't have the opportunity to go to a Supreme Court or Court of Appeal.
I'm hearing now that it's because there's no local version of CAS. That's why they are still nurturing the ambition that the CAS internationally that threw that case away is not, in their minds, reputed or relevant enough, you know, to mean that it's a decisive, you know, decision. It's ridiculous, really. They just have to let it go, really.
The good news is no more ban, but the big issue is if this crop of people that you mentioned earlier keep talking about Nigeria as a sovereign state, and you need to use the laws of the land in order to prosecute when you are aggrieved about certain issues. That's what I was mentioning. If we have the version of CAS and it's here, I mean, if you've gone to CAS here in Nigeria and it's been thrown away or referred to the one in Switzerland, you already know that if FIFA laws are domesticated and all that is not backed by the National Assembly, obviously you know that you cannot go to another court.
So the first question to ask is, do other FIFA affiliates of federations have local versions of CAS that they resort to when there are grievances?
Because usually they don't need it.
Because they respect.
Yes.
They are bound by the rules.
Right? They respect the rules.
And within the rules, if you don't get what you want, you live with it.
And also because it's domesticated and all that. Ours is not. You're still talking about Decree 101 every time and all that.
See, the reality is people have got to respect laws. If you are a member of FIFA, you're bound by FIFA laws, okay? And the Court of Arbitration for Sport remains your sort of resort or last resort, to push whatever position that you have and seek redress or whatever, grievances that you have. And if they threw out the case because it lacked substance or merit, I don't know that there's any local interpretation of sporting laws that can invalidate that ruling. Okay. I don't know that.
Okay.
So, end of day, having a local version of CAS will be pointless as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to allow you to play the devil's advocate. It's very difficult, but I'm going to allow you to play. I know all of this is a game of chess. So for those that seem to be on the losing side, do you think they still have any moves left? Something that this drama, we've probably not seen the end.
I really don't think that there's anything like losing side. I think because,
I said appears like.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it appears to them that way, then they're holding on to something that is not real, I think that at the end of the day, the interest of football
should
prevail. The guys who are on the board of the Nigerian Football Federation now are not there in perpetuity. At some point, they would leave. And then you can, go through the electioneering process and seek elective positions, including the chairmanship of the federation. So except, you go through that, anything else is illegal as far as I'm concerned.
So what do you say to people who say that you have a rigged system where some people can perpetuate their interest and some people are outsiders, and unless you fight the system, you will remain outsiders? Because that's the argument of those at the forefront of this fight.
Well, it is what it is.
Okay.
It is what it is. I think we have to leave this FIFA issue here, right? Yes, we can. Obviously, it's going to continue for a long time. We're just hoping that this doesn't happen again while they have a peaceful elections and those who want to contest can contest.